doing the course if you don't want to teach yoga? So this is a question that came up recently, and I can't remember now. I think I might have seen the question asked on social media. Why would I do a yoga teacher training course if I don't want to teach yoga?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to guess when the word teacher training is in the title, and we're talking about what stops people identifying with something, it could be that. But actually, I think I shared with our graduates that on my teacher training course, a good proportion of people that were on the course said they didn't want to teach, and actually that they were doing that to develop their own practice primarily. Some wanted to share it with friends and family, and I think that's a lot, when something's been of benefit to you and is of benefit to you, being able to gift that or share that to people is important. But first and foremost, yoga is a journey of the self.
So it's about personal evolution, isn't it, really? And then if you choose to share that, that's, another level. But it's interesting also that you mentioned friends and family, because really that's teaching, And so they might think of it as, well, I've learnt these things and I will share them with my family members, but I'm not going to teach a formal class.
Or take money for it or something.
Exactly. Yeah, but that's still a form of teaching, isn't it? And you're kind of learning the skills to be able to communicate, really. Yeah. But yes, it's definitely, it's interesting how many people do start without the intention. I think everybody on our first group, no, I don't think anybody wanted to teach regularly.
Not 100% sure, were they?
No.
I think maybe one
or two thought they might.
But yeah, some were kind of like, no.
I'm not doing it for that reason, was generally what people said. And by the end, I think there was much more of a, maybe a different concept of what teaching was and what it meant, and probably a lot more enthusiasm for sharing, because people had experienced benefits themselves.
Well, and I think a great feature of our course is that you start teaching from month 6, so actually you have that experience. It's like you're trying it on for size, and that really, until you do something, you don't really know how it's going to feel, does it? I mean, I remember, just a little bit off topic, but when I wanted to work in the criminal justice system, I was like, I don't want to work with kids. I don't want to work with teenagers. They're going to be stroppy. I want to work with adults. And as it happened, a volunteering job came up in young offenders, and I thought, well, I need some experience in the criminal justice system. Long story short, I ended up working with young offenders.
You liked it?
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
I had a view, and I, made an assumption, and actually when I tried it, it was completely different to my view, and I really loved it. And then I couldn't think of I was like, oh no, I want to stay with the kids. I don't want to work with adults. And I think that change can happen. And I also think that confidence grows, and the way in which they're taught and what they learn can shape and change their view. But equally, you don't have to teach either, do you? No. You get enough from that course, really.
Oh, loads.
For it to be
loads.
Just for you, without any intention.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, there are people who've come to the end of the course who are not teaching, who are still thinking about it, or thinking about what shape it might take if they do. But I think probably more of them now think that they probably will at some point do some kind of teaching, whereas at the beginning they weren't sure about it. But I think if you do a course and it fills you with enthusiasm and joy, even if it's challenging and demanding, which the course is, but it's also amazing and joyful. I was thinking of Alison's words about an amazing, joyful, demanding and all of those kind of combinations of things. But when you've been kind of challenged and delighted by something, why would you not want to share it, in some form with other people? And some of the people on our course have said things like, my husband had sciatica, and I, looked at my notes, my anatomy notes, and I gave him some things to do, and we sorted it out. Or, somebody asked my advice about, I don't know, something to do with breathing, for example, and I was able to kind of give them some advice. And just being able to share those bits of information, it's brilliant, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. And also, I guess, as we get older, sometimes there's less opportunity for vocational or personal development. Maybe it's more career development. And so for those people that are maybe not thinking of teaching, but actually this is kind of like a year-long journey where you're carving out some me time, where you're learning, you're learning about ancient traditions, you're learning new things, you're learning about yourself. It's like, I don't know, I've got a stack full of books that I always want to read, but on this course we've got a reading list, so there's kind of accountability. I think that's what I'm saying. And sometimes that's missing from our lives. We want to develop ourselves, we want to develop our practice, but we don't have a framework around that. And I think that's what, because some of the people were a little bit like, now the course is ending, my daily practice.
Will I still do it?
Yeah. And so I think accountability is another big thing.
Yeah, that's true. It's very important. And in fact, that reminds me, what you were saying about, people who have maybe got a career. One of the students said to me, and I thought this was really important actually, that when they started the course, they felt like the person they were in their everyday life and the person that they were in their working life wasn't necessarily the same person, that they had to be different and maybe hold different values. And during the course, they changed the way that they were at work, and they felt that the two came much closer together. And I thought that was so important, because you want to be able to work, don't you, with your personal values. It's a very tough thing to go into a workplace and not feel that it's not representing your values, or you're having to represent different values to perhaps your staff or whatever. So to have that feeling of I've learnt these skills, and in fact I can use some of these skills in the workplace, and it better represents who I am. Again, that just seems like amazing.
Yes. And as we know, people went through some personal stuff on that course, didn't they?
Tough.
Some tough things. And like we said, it wasn't that yoga eradicated that and made that go away, but there was that support, wasn't there? There was actually, I've got some resources here that I can use. I can look at this in different ways. I can be with this and know that it's okay to feel this way. So again, and life is going to throw us these curveballs and and natural things that happen which are tough. So good that we have
those. Yeah, it's a toolbox, isn't it? It's a toolbox of things. And I think I said to one of the people, that felt that the yoga, that they were struggling, and that perhaps the breathing practice or their meditation practice wasn't helping with that. And I one of the things I said to them was, but what it's given you is clarity about the situation, because I think it had. I think they'd seen it for what it was, and that really comes from the practice, doesn't it? And being able to look and see something as it really is, the sort of reality.
I mean, it certainly enables somebody to step off kind of that treadmill of day in, day out, doing the same thing. This is, they were challenged, their views were challenged, weren't they, in a lot of ways.
Is this really what I want to do?
Is this job? Am I being true to myself?
And maybe you can change the way that you're approaching what you're doing to make it. So it may be that it's not that you need to change the job, but that you make it, you can bring more of yourself
Yeah.
And perhaps your new set of values or your altered set of values.
Yeah, of course.
And bring those to.
Or you're using your voice to express, I'm not happy in this, I need support, or I need something to change. So lots of different things.
Yeah.